When the Cadillac CT5-V Blackwing first came out, it was one of the most exciting vehicles out there. It's the replacement to the Cadillac CTS-V, and the new CT5-V Blackwing that replaced it came out with a similar 6.2-liter supercharged V8, pushing 668 horsepower and 657 pounds per foot of torque. This made this car absolutely ferocious. Despite the fact that it's rear-wheel drive, it still ended up doing 0 to 60 in about 3.4 seconds. This example right behind me is a 2022. As always, guys, I want to show you guys a little bit around the car. We're going to do the exterior, we're going to do the interior, the cargo, engine, and then finally driving impressions. So guys, as always, let's strap in and take a look. Some things that make the CT5-V Blackwing stand apart from the rest of its brothers in the CT5 lineup includes this front grille that, if you guys take a closer look, it's got V shapes all around. It's very similar to what you see with Mercedes-Benz with the star, but in this particular case we see V's, which in my opinion is actually absolutely gorgeous. Of course, you have a front camera module right there, and then you have additional brake cooling and an air curtain right there on the side. And of course, it's adorned with the Cadillac daytime running light, which is quintessential CT5 look. I personally love the design of the CT5-V Blackwing. The way that they changed it a little bit compared to its predecessor is they actually slimmed down the lights a little bit and they made it a little bit more aggressive in the front. So this CT5-V Blackwing comes standard with 19-inch wheels, and of course you have two-piece rotors in the rear clamped by 6-piston calipers right behind that as well. The fronts, as you guys can see, are wrapped in 275/35/19 tires, which are Pilot Sport 4S's, which is a phenomenal tire. You also get to see carbon fiber mirror caps, side view mirror caps. And the other thing also, which I love quite a bit, is this functional vent here that is on the front fender. Of course, you get to see some V Blackwing badging on the side. And then you have a gloss black side skirt. You do have the option of a carbon fiber exterior package, but this one doesn't have it. From the side profile, the CT5-V Blackwing doesn't look that much different from a regular CT5. You do get to see this massive rear lip spoiler as well, but the only difference that I would probably say is the fact that you have that little air vent that goes in the front fender, and then maybe the side splitter that goes at the bottom. The other cool thing that I love about the CT5 in general is the window trim that goes all the way around. Moving towards the rear, that's where you get to see quite a bit of CT5-V Blackwing design changes, which include the lip spoiler here on the top, a rear diffuser with some fins to help for aerodynamics, and of course the quad tip exhaust, the V badging. So let's take a look around the CT5-V Blackwing to give you guys an overall exterior view of the vehicle. So that's the key. As you guys can see, something really cool is that the key is actually color matched to the exterior color of the CT5-V Blackwing. Aside from that, you get to see some functionalities on the key, which include a lock, unlock, remote start, and then the trunk lid open, and then of course you have the panic button. The other thing also that I want to mention is, despite the fact that you do have a door handle, this door handle doesn't physically move. There's an electronic release button right here. Some leather here at the top, alongside with carbon fiber inserts. You have your door lock, unlock, memory seats, window functions, mirror functions, and then you have your AKG speaker grill over here. You have a trunk release button over here. You do have some space, not very much. It's quite surprising to see this for a four-door sports sedan. It's big enough for maybe a 500 ml water bottle and maybe a few items over here, but nothing too crazy. I'd expect a little bit better from Cadillac, to be honest. I do like the contrast coloring where you have some black leather, you have dark gray Alcantara, and then you have white leather with contrast red stitching. Very nicely done. You have a door sill that is in aluminum showing the V badging. These seats are very bolstered and quite comfortable, to say the least. I do like the diamond stitching here in the middle, and then of course you have your headrest with V badging on the headrest, but I absolutely love these seats. You have red piping on the headrest that goes all the way down to the side of the bolstering and to the bottom part as well. And then you have basically same color stitching on the middle of the seat. You do have quite a bit of functionality on the seats. An extension here for the thigh extension, but that's manual. And then you have some lumbar and other functions as well. The cool thing also is the fact that on the CT5-V Blackwing, you also get these aluminum pedals with rubber inserts and an aluminum footrest as well. 3-spoke steering wheel with some functions here. They're all physical buttons and some scrollers as well. Personalize your V button, which is very, very cool. And then you guys can see V mode over here. And you can actually adjust those different variables, which include everything from steering, suspension. You also have your drive control modes over here. So you just basically, it's kind of like a Ferrari Manettino, but not so much. And you guys get to see on the gauge cluster as I switch it, wet, dry, sport, race 1, race 2. I do like the steering wheel in general. You have some paddle shifters which are made out of plastic, I believe. Steering wheel mounted as opposed to column mounted. The stalks here feel a little bit cheap. Same with the top part of the steering wheel. The gauge cluster is fully digital. There is different functionalities that you can basically adjust on the gauge cluster. You can change all the different views over here, from navigation to phone, maintenance, and then you have different options as well, including the display theme. I can go to, and it changes completely the look, which is kind of cool, to be honest. That's the Tour, which gives you a speedometer. This is a Sport. The only downside is that it's a little bit slow in changing, but nevertheless, I mean, you do get the option of changing the look of your gauge cluster completely, which is kind of nice. And then you have track. And the track is mostly geared towards your RPMs. You have the most important data points if you're going to be driving this car on the track, and one of the most important things is knowing at which point to shift, and that's why you have a large tachometer here right at the top, which is in your line of sight. The one thing that I did notice, which I might be wrong, and correct me guys, let me know in the comments below, it doesn't seem like this side of the gauge cluster can be adjusted. That basically stays static. The only adjustment part is here on the right side, and that's in the touring mode. You do have a nice infotainment screen here in the middle, nothing too large, but the good thing is the fact that you can adjust it through this knob over here, or it's also touch. Infotainment is actually quite nice, and I do like the fact that you have a physical button over here to bring you back home as well. Another plus for me is the fact that all your HVAC controls are physical. You have both heated and cooled seats, and then you have additional functions over here which include everything from your camera, your lane keep assist. You guys can see that there is different views for the camera, both front and back. It's generally pretty nice. I like the fact that you have all these different functionalities for the camera. The quality is, I wouldn't say it's the best, but it's definitely better than, let's say, I've seen on Lexus, but probably not as nice as you see on a Mercedes-Benz. This is the 10-speed automatic. It would have been nicer to have the manual 6-speed. You have a wireless charger over here. You have your different modes that you can change. And then you have traction control off. That's your auto brake hold over here. One cool thing that I did notice, if you just want to put your phone, you can just leave it there and it stays there. So it's got a nice little slot there for your phone. If, let's say, you're not charging it, it allows you to leave your phone there with a nice little slot over there for the cable to run through and basically go into your either USB-C or USB-A plugs over there. You do have a 12-volt over here and quite a bit of space in the middle compartment. The other nice thing about the CT5-V Blackwing is the fact that you have an Alcantara headliner, and then you have a double sunroof opening. So once you open the shades, both open up, and then of course you'll be able to open the sunroof as well. So you have the beauty of having sort of kind of like a panoramic sunroof with a brake here in the middle, and then you can actually open your sunroof as well. So taking a look at the rear seats of the CT5-V Blackwing, we get to see the similar type of finishing on the door cards with the same type of contrast in the leather between the white leather, the dark Alcantara, and the black leather on the top with the carbon fiber inlays, and then you have also your contrast stitching as well. And the beauty is that you also have the red piping alongside with a black and white leather diamond stitched middle part of the seat. It's so nice. An Alcantara seat back, which is really, really nice. The only bad thing is that that can get dirty quite easily. And then you have a V badge in the back of the seat as well. There is quite a bit of space. I have at least 4 inches of knee room between the back of the seat and my knee, so that's very nice. And you also have a middle armrest with a couple of cup holders here in the middle. No adjustability or controls for the HVAC controls in the rear. You do have one USB-C port alongside with a 12-volt cigarette style lighter inlet as well. The trunk space on the CT5-V Blackwing doesn't change from the regular CT5, but you guys get to see that there is quite a bit of space here, and it seems like you do have a pass-through as well, which you could probably access from the inside. Not a lot of sound deadening over here. You guys can see that's a bare chassis over here. Even like the opening itself, if you guys look, the opening itself is actually pretty large as well. I'll show you guys on the screen what the cargo volume is for the CT5-V Blackwing trunk space, and I'll compare it to some of its competitors like the M5 and the E63 as well. One downside of the trunk space is the fact that it isn't automatic, so you guys don't see any sort of like automatic closing or anything. So now under the hood of the CT5-V Blackwing, which is the heart of this amazing sports sedan, this is what I truly believe makes the CT5-V Blackwing. It's the LT4 engine that's also been fitted on the C7 Corvette Z06 and the Chevy Camaro ZL1. But in this particular version of the CT5-V Blackwing, it pushes 668 horsepower and 659 pounds per foot of torque. GM basically says that this car will do 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds. I know that Car and Driver basically did their 0 to 60 sprint in the automatic, which is the same one as this one, in 3.5 seconds. You have a massive brace here for additional rigidity as well. And of course, if you guys see, you see the V badging on the underside of the hood panel as well. So generally speaking, I mean, this engine is absolutely phenomenal. It's done very well on the ZL1 and the Z06 as well. I'll show you guys the EPA fuel efficiency figures if you really care that much about that. But if you get this car, you're not looking for fuel efficiency. But ultimately, this car is all about speed and power. Literally raw power. All right guys, so driving the Cadillac CT5-V Blackwing. I've been driving it for a few minutes now, and I can tell you that extremely visceral vehicle. I love the way that this thing feels, and even like the exhaust note that comes out of this is absolutely phenomenal. It's got a little bit of an American rumble to it. Of course, it's the LT4 engine, which is shared with the Corvette Z06 in the C7 generation and the Chevy Camaro ZL1 as well. So very powerful engine, but it's got that sort of American muscle grumble, which I'm not complaining here, to be honest with you guys. Seats are super comfortable. They hold you in place. There's quite a bit of response on the engine. It's not like a turbocharged engine. You know, given the fact that it's a supercharged engine, it's quite responsive, to be honest. The steering is quite communicative. Let's see how this goes off the line. Oh my God. So I just pushed it a little bit around the corner and the back just gave out. So that gives you an idea of how powerful this car is. Even if you're like taking a slight turn, I wasn't taking a hard turn, and it already was giving out on me. And you guys can hear some of that exhaust note as well. I'm gonna open up the window a little bit, get you guys to listen to that a little bit as well. Very, very nice. I'm sure that the back's gonna give out. Oh my God. Jeez. Man, this thing is fast. Okay, I'm actually impressed. I'm very, very impressed. And man, is this car visceral. It is communicative, but it's also numb at the same time. It's responsive, the steering, but you don't get to feel a lot of what's going on the road. This is a sports sedan, so it's gotta have a good mix of comfort and sportiness at the same time. I just took a nice little break to test them out, and nice linear brakes. These are not the carbon ceramics. You know, these are the steel brakes. They still come as two-piece rotors, so you got the hat and the disc itself as two separate pieces. You know, if you're not pushing the car hard, then the transmission will be slow. So it seems like this transmission will only act fast if you're pushing it hard. I definitely would have preferred the manual rather than the automatic. I can only imagine how much more visceral this drive would be if I'd be driving the manual on this. The suspension is not that rough. It's actually quite good. Let's not forget that it's got the magnetorheological dampers on this. So these are very well known dampers that basically are across all of GM's performance vehicles. And we also know that some of the other exotic manufacturers use these type of dampers that they take from GM as well. So I mean, they do a phenomenal job in keeping this car compliant. It's both comfortable and it's got great road handling all at the same time. So a couple of things that I noticed. One, I don't like the way that the turn signal stalk feels when you actually engage it. It doesn't feel sometimes like I've actually engaged it when I did, in fact. And then the second thing, the paddles don't feel that great. They feel kind of cheap. I feel like I don't get much feedback off of them. It's just like a very small click and that's it. Yeah, I can tell you that even when you're driving fast and you're trying to basically downshift, it's the transmission's not that fast. It's really not. It's faster on the upshifts than it is on the downshifts. Now I'm gonna go over some speed bumps and let's see how that feels with these dampers. Oh my God. Very, very comfortable. That's the beauty of these of this suspension, the magnetorheological dampers, is the fact that they adjust themselves so quickly. It gives you both the sportiness and the comfort all into one system. Off the line, the M5 is faster, but when you're already rolling, this car is just as fast, if not maybe even faster. It doesn't put the power down as good as the M5, but I mean, it is so much more visceral. I mean, I felt when I drove the M5 that it was a rocket ship. It was a very well insulated rocket ship, whereas this is not as insulated. It sounds louder, and there's more action around this vehicle. I don't know, it's just more of a car enthusiast's vehicle for sure. I would say it's definitely much more fun to drive. Don't get me wrong, the M5 you can also make it into rear-wheel drive, and I've done that before, but for whatever reason this car is just on another level, to be honest. Look, if you're considering a high-performance sports sedan, definitely keep this in your list. And I mean, if you test drive it, you'll see what I mean. Where you gain on the actual driving enjoyment, you might lose on the interior layout because the other German competitors will be nicer on the inside, but it really depends what you're looking for. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this review of the Cadillac CT5-V Blackwing, an absolute beast. This car is all about being visceral. Really fun drive. I've been very privileged to get a chance to drive this. I've driven it before at some events like at IMSA, for example, but this gave me a real full-fledged feel of the car because I spent a little bit more time with it. It might not be as fast as, like, let's say an M5 or an E63 AMG, and that's only because of the fact that it's rear-wheel drive as opposed to all-wheel drive. Nevertheless, this is an absolute beast. The exhaust note on this is absolutely amazing, and it's very, very visceral. Big thanks to Aston Martin of Orlando for giving me the opportunity to test drive this car and spend some time with it. They do have it up for sale right now, so if you guys are interested, I'll put the link in the description below for the listing. And as always, guys, big thanks for all the likes, all the views, and stay tuned for more car reviews in the future. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.